Well, hello, everyone. We have to apologize for earlier. Initially, we were scheduled to come on at 4, but we spent the day with our baby nieces, and the location we were in at 4 was not having it. We were having connection issues. Um, so, anyways, thank you for joining us. This is the second episode of Let's Talk More. I am Desiree, and this is my husband,
Rasuli, Ross.
and together we are Let's Talk More. So we had quite a few questions come in since last week. The majority of the questions that we went through were geared or questions asked from a newlyweds perspective. So that is actually what we're going to cover today. If there's any questions or topics that you would like to discuss, go ahead and drop them in the chat. We are getting a link set up to where you throughout the week you can also send them in through the link, and then we are working on actually having live guests during our sessions. But we don't have a lot of time, so I'm just going to go ahead and jump right into the questions.
All
Does that work?
Let's do it.
Okay, so the first question that we had, again, this is from the perspective of a newlywed, or questions that newlyweds are asking. If you're joining us for the first time, just stopping by, this is a relationship talk, whether you are single, wanting to be in a relationship, or longing to be married, if you're dating, newly engaged, newlywed, or if you're just an OG, triple OG, been in the game for a long time. All are welcome. So anyways, the first question coming in was, is handling conflict. It says, how do you handle disagreements without letting them damage your relationship? That is a good one. Very gently. You have to be careful. Communication is key. And sometimes the best thing that you can do if you are the one that is upset about a certain situation is take a minute, take a step back, allow yourself to process things before you open your mouth to speak to your partner. At the end of the day, for newlyweds, I will say, remembering back when, that is something that can happen quite frequently in the first couple of years, and you have to take a minute, take a step back, and remember why you are where you are. Remember why you are with the person you're with. Remember why you married them. Reflect on that and take a second before responding. I think if you practice doing that, you'll be sure not to damage your relationship.
Yeah, I mean, that's really what it is. It's like handling conflict. You're gonna have disagreements, period. You know what I'm saying? So it's inevitable. You will disagree with one another, and the handling of it is just remembering that you love the person that you're talking to. So you know what I'm saying? You got to remember, hey, look, I love this person more than whatever the disagreement is. And if you just go into it like that, then you'll figure out a way to have a sensible conversation about the situation. I just say it like that. Consider the person's feelings. Don't hold in what you have to say or what you feel like you need to get out, but consider that person's point of view. And then understand that if you want them to really hear you and listen to what you have to say, then you gotta really know the person that you're talking to. You know what I'm saying? So the disagreement could be a big one, but it doesn't matter how big it is if you understand the person that you're talking to and you consider how much you love that person. I think that's
it.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all. There's no magic sauce.
No magic sauce.
The next question came in. Again, this is a newlywed. Keeping the spark alive. What are some ways to keep the romance strong after years of marriage? I think the same thing applies. I mean, you got to continue to do the same things that you did to attract one another, the same things that happen to make both of you want to go ahead and jump the broom, so to speak. I can't be in the dating season and get up and cook him breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and massage his feet and head and hands whenever he makes eye contact with me, and then suddenly get married and stop. I mean, you feel me? I'm exaggerating to make a point, but I'm just saying, husbands, continue to date your wives. Wives, continue doing those special things that you did, that you've always done. Allow time for that, and continue to make each other feel very, very relevant in each other's lives. You matter. I matter. And as busy as we get in our lives, that has to stay in the forefront. That has to be number one.
Yeah. I mean, that pretty much, I mean, that was a perfect answer. I think is like, your spouse was initially attracted to you for whatever you were doing up front. And if you get married and decide that you no longer need to do those things, then there's gonna be a bit of a rub, It's gonna be like, hey, what happened? You fooled me, and nobody wants to go through that, So, when it comes down to keeping the spark alive, remember the reasons why you initially said I do. Remember the reasons why you said, okay, I'll go on a second date, or whatever was the momentum that you were building when you guys were first, courting one another, or whatever the situation is. But yeah, keep it going.
All right, good. All good stuff. Sorry if you hear some weird noises behind us. Our little dog is trying to get our attention to let him outside.
Yeah, let me do that.
Hey, you going to?
Yeah.
Okay, well then, just to keep it going, because like I said, we don't have a whole lot of time, and we have several questions that we want to get to. We kind of ran out of time last week, so I want to make sure that we are allowing time to cover all of these. If you are just joining us, we appreciate you. Want to say hello. This is our second episode of Let's Talk More.
Mm-hmm.
We are just discussing life in relationships, whether you are single and dating in a relationship, if you are engaged to be married, if you are newly married, or if you are married and been in the game for a long, long time. All are welcome. I'll talk. There's no topics that are off the table. This is a session that we like to call AMA or AUA, Ask Us Anything.
Right.
Questions are sent in throughout the week and collected, and then we just go live every Saturday afternoon, typically at 4:00. We are Pacific Standard Time. Things malfunctioned today and it didn't allow us to go live at the scheduled time, but we are going to continue this going Saturday afternoons at 4 p.m. So questions will be collected throughout the week. You could drop them into the chat as we are live. Also topics of discussions, or we will have a link that will be ready and available soon that you can just drop the questions there throughout the week and topics of discussion that you want to cover. But so those of you that are just joining, hello, welcome. We appreciate you. Those of you that have been here from the beginning, hang tight. There's more to come. So,
but to add to that, this will also be reposted on our YouTube channel, Let's Talk More. And I think we're putting them up there every Tuesday.
Those are not the same episodes, but
yeah, it's a little different.
There are episodes on the YouTube channel, and that is linked in the bio, so you can check those out as well. Question number 3: balancing individual and couple time. How do you maintain personal interests while still prioritizing your relationship? These are all very similar questions.
Yeah.
Or they all have very similar answers. So the way to maintain personal interests while still prioritizing your relationship is just, no relationship can be all consuming. You have to prioritize your life. Things, as you get older, you get busier. There's less and less of your time or your own time that you even have for yourself. You have to make sure to set time for yourself your alone time, your me time. Like I call my prayer time. I need my time. Um, I dedicate a lot of time to work. We dedicate a lot of our time to family. We were with our nieces all day today. A lot of time is dedicated to family, but at the end of the day, they still have to make sure to allow time for us and to prioritize us. And it's not a secret sauce. It's something that is required. You need to prioritize your life. You need your own time for your personal interests. I have a million and one hobbies. I've started them all. I don't think I've finished any of them, but it's a work in progress. So
Yeah.
I'm learning to prioritize my time. And then there's no real issue with speaking up, especially to your partner and saying, hey, like, and it's me time. There's been, several occasions I could remember, kind of just putting my hand over the phone, like it's my time.
If I'm on the
Or
phone.
if you're on the phone, or several times where he just, will click the TV off. It just as a signaled reminder that, hey, let's go have sushi. Let's go.
Which we didn't
yeah.
do today. We were supposed to.
We'll get there.
Yeah,
There is still time yet in this weekend. I am confident we will get there. But just little special moments. We've put this segment together. We have 30-minute sessions that, it's something that we've added into our priority for certain days of the week. So you just have to prioritize things. And the quicker that you do that, I believe the easier navigating issues of time or lack thereof tend to get.
No, for sure. Balancing individual and couple time. Yeah. I mean, it is a balancing act because, I would say this, you always need that time for yourself. Even if you don't know it, you do. There's just going to be times where you just need to get away, or, you just have a specific thing that you enjoy and you just have to do it no matter what. And it could be a secret. I mean, if you're keeping secrets, but whatever it is, only you know the truth about who you are, you know what I'm saying? So that individualism that you enjoy and you can't really share with anybody, or it just makes you feel more relieved to keep that to yourself, whatever it is, so definitely it's healthy as long as you're not allowing that to impede or encroach on the building of you and your spouse, you know what I mean? So, but just like you have that time for yourself, you also need to dedicate the same kind of posture when it comes to just presenting how important it is for you and your wife, or you and your husband, to spend some time together as well. So like she said earlier, we were with we were with family earlier today, our little nieces, but it was just for a hot second. I mean, we was with them for the majority part of the morning, but we said after we dropped them off, we were gonna go and have a little date, have a sushi time, but it didn't, things didn't go that way today, but we still have plenty of time. But then, like she said, we're doing this right here. This is not something that I'm really comfortable with doing, but now that I'm doing it, I'm getting a little bit more comfortable. I'm getting into my groove with it, and I know she really enjoys it. So, I dedicated this time and this space so that we can do this as a team. So, definitely, it's important to do both.
Awesome. I don't know how many more we'll get through. Financial decisions. This one. What is the best way to manage money as a couple and avoid financial stress? I'm gonna go ahead and let you take this one.
To manage money and avoid
financial stress.
Wait,
what is the best way to manage money as a couple and avoid financial stress?
You want me to take it?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's a loaded question. There's a lot in there. So, if you're newlyweds, there's still a lot that you got to learn about one another. And one of those things that you're learning about one another is the spending habits that you might have, or the the attitude that you might take towards money compared to your spouse. Like, some people's attitude towards money is, it could be, um, I'm trying to find the right words. Some people's attitude towards money could be a huge distraction and a hindrance because they feel like they've never had it, and like, you ever met somebody that says, "Hey man, I got a good job, I'm making good money," and then they tell you how much they're making, and you're like, "That's good money to you?" So it's just a different mental state. So whatever your thoughts about money are, you're gonna learn that your spouse might have a different objective or a different thought about money. So it's all about learning who they are when it comes to money and how to deal with that person, and that goes into a whole nother slew of different questions that we could talk about. But I'd like to hear your point of view on that, babe.
The best way to manage money as a couple and avoid financial stress is to do it correctly. I mean, you have to budget. You have to be in communication. So each one of you brings something to the table. What are your finances? What are your goals? What are you hoping to do? Is there extra money? Are you living above and beyond your means? Are you budgeting? Should you be budgeting? There's a lot of things to consider. So the best way to manage it is to budget and to stay in regular communication. You need to know who you married, and if they have excessive spending habits or shopping habits, or what you're looking at as far as your money, and how much of it you have or how little of it you don't. But there's no best way to manage your money. You just need to manage it. You have to manage it and stay in communication. And I think that communication goes or ties in hand with all of the questions that we've covered thus far. Is communication is key.
Communication is key.
He might look at our account balance and think, oh yeah, I can go buy this classic car part, and then I flip out and say, what are you doing? I just sent all the, paid the mortgage and sent off all the bills. Well, I don't know. How could you know? I'm the one who does that. So we will have to communicate. You have to talk. So,
or I can assume that, there's all types of assumptions, but communication is key, and it's best not to assume anything without having a clear understanding of what your partner's innermost thoughts are about the situation. So before you make a move, figure out a way to speak to one another before y'all tear the whole thing down. All right, what's next?
The next one, dealing with the in-laws. Oof. How do you set healthy boundaries with family without causing tension?
I'm gonna let you go with it.
Sometimes you can't, but again, it's something that you have to do. I don't really, it just depends on your situation. Like you don't have that situation where there's tension on either side. We just recently got through the holidays, and that's typically the time where the in-laws are most around. If the situation is different, like there's lots of situations where people live with one in-law or the other or both or whatever the case is, and that's tough. It's tough navigating your marriage or your relationship with anyone else involved. And when I say involved, meaning in the household, if you're sharing a household with an in-law, that's very difficult. It is very difficult because things are going to happen in your marriage. You are not always going to get along. And that is not something that you want anyone directly in the middle of or within earshot of, because then they develop their own opinion. And whenever, things get reconciled between you and your spouse, they're not always so easy to forgive. So it's just very difficult to navigate that situation. But as far as setting healthy boundaries, no one gets between me and my husband but God. So there's no one else in my marriage. There's no need to set boundaries speaking from, you know, just our marriage. That's the best advice I could say is know your spouse and realize that, or not to allow anyone to get between, whether intentionally or unintentionally.
Yeah.
People's opinions, their outlook, or even the advice towards or for your marriage is not necessary. So maybe that's the boundary that could be set is, you know, I appreciate your feedback, or I appreciate what you're thinking here, or I appreciate your concern, but I got it.
But even still, like setting a boundary, what do you mean by that? Like, think about that. If you're setting a boundary, that means you're telling somebody else to stay in their place. But at the end of the day, you just need to think about the boundaries that you're gonna either allow in your life or not. So it's not about you outwardly setting boundaries towards people. It's about you taking advice from people or not. And it's about you allowing yourself to be put in a position where that person is feeling free to give you any advice in the first place. So, I mean, just because you love people doesn't mean that they have the best advice for you. And if you can just think about what's best for you in your marriage up until this point, because you gotta remember, your spouse's family has known him or her all the way up until before you became a factor in his life or her life, and vice versa. The same is true. So from here on, you guys decided to join and be one. You know what I mean? And so they don't know I'm talking about your family or your in-laws. They don't know how you are now that you're with this person, because you become one, you start changing, you start moving differently, you start meeting the friends that made this person that you fell in love with the person that he or she is, and the same is true for them. And your in-laws are not always privy to that knowledge. They only know you as who you are, or who you've always been as the kid in their lives. You know what I mean? So you got to remember that even though they love the person, their advice may not be the most healthy for what you guys are trying to do. So don't be mad at them for giving it, but only be mad at yourself if you choose to act on it. You know what I'm saying? So just think, you know, and don't even trip.
Yep.
What's that?
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah, I mean, we could tell y'all some stories.
Oh, but we won't. We only have a couple minutes.
No.
So I'm gonna get in here. I think we're gonna have to end it with this one. But communication tips. What's the best advice for improving communication and truly understanding each other?
Go ahead, babe.
Go ahead. What is the best advice for improving communication and truly understanding each other?
I'm thinking about the story of communicating my story. You want me to share it?
No. I just want you to give your best advice for improving communication and truly understanding each other.
Best advice for communication. I'm trying to sum it all up, but you know, I could say my best advice would be to listen to what your spouse is saying, the way that you're presenting yourself to them. You know what I mean? Or the way that they see you, because they're outside looking at you. And the majority of the time, we don't realize how we're being viewed. We have an idea of who we are. We know who we are. We know what we're producing, and we want the people that's around us to feel what we're putting out there. But as you grow older, you grow wiser, and you start realizing that what you're putting out there is not always being picked up on. You know what I mean? So sometimes you have to listen to the advice that the person that's closest to you is giving you, even if you don't want to hear it. So, and I'm not saying that they're always going to be right, but at least you have a different perspective that you can become more aware of about your own self. And then, and don't get mad about it. just know that this person that loves you so much is telling you, I want you to be more aware of this so that you can grow as a person and be a better man or a better wife or whatever the situation is. But they just want you to be better, period. And if you take the approach of this person that's with you and next to you all the time is just trying to enhance your personality so that people can see all the love and the beauty that they see in you, then why would it hurt to just listen to what they have to say? I'll put it to you like that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, you do have to talk to each other. You have to listen to each other. But I would say the best advice I could give for improving communication is just like you have to tailor your conversations to fit whomever you are speaking to. You have to do the same thing with your spouse. What do I mean by that? Well, when I'm talking to my 3-year-old niece, I do not sit there and talk to her as if she is an adult. She is a young child. So I conform my conversation in a way that she can understand so that my point gets across to her. However I'm speaking to her, she will understand. So I mean, that's the best advice I can give. When I'm speaking to my husband, if it's something that is important to me, or whenever I'm speaking to my husband, I'm not going to speak to him like I speak to my homegirls when we're on the phone or we're, conversing back and forth. I'm not going to speak to him the same way that I converse with my mother, or, with my brothers, my family, my friends. It's different. So when I'm speaking to my husband, I want to be heard. So what is the best way to express what I'm feeling or whatever I want to communicate and be heard, to be validated? If it's something that bothers me, to feel that he understands me, that he's listening. I know we are going to get better at this. I see the chatter that's coming in through the chat. It is just him and I. We don't have anyone appointed to administrate this, to answer the questions back, but we do see them. We appreciate them. And I promise you that we do go through, we reread those. I don't know why that was so difficult for me to say. And then any questions or topics that come in, we are pulling them, and that's what we're just discussing the week following. But I thank you all for popping in, popping out, showing some love, joining the live, and for all the questions that are sent in. I mean, we might have to extend this segment because there's such an overflow of topics, discussion topics and questions that are coming in that 30-minute segments are just not sufficient anymore, and this is only the second one.
It's cool. I mean,
it is definitely cool. We have yet to be able to cover all of the questions in a specific topic, and that's on both sides for the TikTok live and also for our YouTube channel. So it's we are getting better at this. We will have someone that is administratively monitoring the channel as we are live, so that if there are questions or topics of discussion that come in during our live, they can be discussed. But I think that's to close that question off. Communication tips. The best advice that I can provide for improving communication and truly understanding each other is first you got to listen, and then you never stop learning each other. Never stop learning each other. Never stop changing. Never stop communicating and wanting to do better, because if it matters to him, it's got to matter to me, and vice versa. And as long as you keep that focused, then whatever comes next, it will ease the tension. If he comes to me and tells me he doesn't like a specific outfit that I have on, and I might be so excited that I finally fit into that specific outfit. I wasn't giving any of that away. I was just sharing, but that is the situation where I was so excited to finally refit into an outfit I hadn't fit in for a really long time. And then he comes upstairs into our bedroom and is like, what are you supposed to be? And it was like, that was really hurtful, because I really wanted you to to like that. But you also can't put unrealistic expectations.
But what I would like to say to end that question, though, babe, as far as
I am not finished with that. I am on that question. So I'm saying, like, you cannot set unrealistic expectations. He's not a mind reader.
No.
So he did not know that I was so excited about that. But on the flip side, you don't know how I'm feeling. And I don't think that's never going to be received well outside of Halloween when somebody asks what you are supposed to be. So it's just all about.
Yeah. It's like, you know, your parents have told you when you were young, you know, if you don't want to ask a person if they're pregnant, you know what I'm saying? You got to think about how you're communicating, you know what I'm saying? So, what, but what I would say, just to sum up that whole little question, as far as communicating is key to your relationship being a successful one. And the main thing that I would say as far as advice is to just be patient with the person that you love, and just remember that they love you. You know what I mean? Even when they're mad, people lead with their emotions all the time. Don't allow your emotions to take precedence over the love that you have for one another. So remember how much you love each other before you decide to communicate based off of your emotional mind state. And I'll just say, at the end of the day, like we like to play off the last name Moore, you know, remember that you love your spouse more than whatever the argument is that you're having at the current moment. So that's good. We can leave it like that.
Yep.
I think our time is up.
That our time is up. So thank you guys all once again for joining us for our second Let's Talk More. And like I said, you can continue to send in your topics or your questions to us. We love reading through them. We do read them all. And we will see you next week.
All love.
See you later.